Here we go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Real Men Talk Stroke, presented by Stroke of Grace. I am your moderator this afternoon, and my name is Derrick Carr, and I have the privilege of serving as the moderator. Tonight is about honest conversations, real stories, and practical information that could save someone's life. Whether you're a stroke survivor, a caregiver, family member, healthcare professional, or simply someone who wants to learn more, we're grateful you're here. But before we begin, we would like to ask you, we would like to know who's watching tonight, where you're watching from. So if you could take a moment and tell us your name, the city and state you're joining from, and we'd love for you to join us. This is an interactive conversation. This is a Stroke Survivor series that we're talking through, and it's about men's health this month is what we're talking through. And we just want to have a conversation. So we want you to join us, and we're going to do it our way. Um, so I have some gentlemen here with me, and if you have questions and during the discussion, place them in the comments. Our team will be monitoring the chat, and at the end of tonight's conversation, we'll ask as many questions as time allows. We'll answer those for you. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and transition into the discussion. One of the reasons we're here tonight is because too many Black men don't talk about their health until something goes wrong. So that's what we want to negate tonight. We want to kind of talk through that and what things look like. And I just want to talk to my brothers. So, first of all, I want you all, if you could, just let's go around and let's introduce yourself and maybe say where you're from. And then we'll go right into the discussion after that. So, I'll start with Curt. Curt, if you could introduce yourself and tell us where you're from.
Sure. Good afternoon. I'm Curt Hylton, and I'm from Long Island, New York, by way of Brooklyn, baby.
All right, by the way of Brooklyn, baby. Come on, Curt. I love it. I love it. All right, Herbert, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing well. If you could
Good.
tell
I'm
us your name, where you
Herbert
from?
Johnson from Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky. All right, throw them L's up, baby. That's where I'm
Yes,
from
sir.
too.
Yes, sir. You got it.
All right, and then this other guy on this phone, he's special. If you see my name, you see his name. That's my little brother. So, little brother, tell us where you from and your name, and you know, all that good
Yeah,
stuff.
my name is Terrence Carr. I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky, Louisville alum, go Cards, and I live and reside in Houston, Texas.
All right. And then the man that is helping us to understand some of these things better is none other than Dr. Smart. So, Dr. Smart, if you want to introduce yourself and kind of tell us a little bit about you and where you're from.
YouTube.
All right. Hi, my name is Sean Smart. Originally from Jamaica, right outside of Kingston.
Yes, I.
I swear I
But
didn't hear your accent until just now. I didn't hear
yeah,
it just
that's the only way I can say Wild Hill.
Yeah. Yes, Jordan.
So I am a neurologist. I did my undergrad University of Miami, med school University of Michigan, residency University of South Florida. Did my fellowship in epilepsy and neurophysiology at Duke University. I have been here at Houston for the past now 8 years. I am the medical director for all of general neurology for UT, inpatient general neurology for UT and Memorial Hermann. I'm also overseeing their continuous EEG service, as well as the medical director and the medical director for the neurohospitalist fellowship. So I help train residents as well. I have worked in academics and private practice, worked in Miami for like 5 years, being medical director down there before joining here. And I look forward to answering any questions and help in whatever way possible.
I absolutely love it. Thank you so much. It's nice meeting all of you. And I'm looking forward to a great conversation tonight. So we're going to take the gloves off. We just going to talk because a lot of time we get the stigma that Black men don't go worry about the health until something happened or until something goes wrong. So let's go with this. Let's go ahead and jump in. Let's go through. I want to ask a question to everyone, and we'll kind of talk through this. And I'll ask everyone the same question, and this to make sure we understand and that people can hear your stories. Just talk to us tonight. So I'll go with you. Start with you, Curt. Take us back to the day your stroke happened. What do you remember most, and how did your life change in that moment?
I was back home in Jamaica in the midst of a vacation with two other couples and my then fiance, now my wife. And it was supposed to be a dream vacation and the opportunity to then introduce my fiance to my family that was still down in Jamaica.
Okay.
So to just, after having had a fantastic day full of activity, I was always an athletic and active guy, and just being incapacitated with some blank spots there. Usually when I've told my story publicly, my wife has accompanied me to fill in the blanks, because there are some gaps for me here and there.
Okay. Understandable. All right. So, Herbert, I'll ask you the same question. Take us back to the day of your stroke happened, and what do you remember most, and how did your life change in that moment?
Okay, I had a stroke April of 21, almost 1900 days ago.
Mhm.
And I do remember the day just like it was yesterday, pretty much. I was going to play golf and going to pick some guys up from, matter of fact, Houston were coming in to play with us. And I went up, reached up to get some cereal, and all of a sudden I felt my face started cracking. And so right away I lost my balance. And from there, I lost all my, ability with my arm, you get back to FAST, you think about, the FAST acronym, and you realize that it really, really is part of that. You know what I mean? My face, arms, speech, and everything. And I was home by myself. So what I started to do, guys, was I started to start scrubbing my cell phone, because I called my son probably about 2 hours early that morning, right? So I just started scraping, and he FaceTimed me. So he was able to see I was in trouble. I told him I was in trouble, and he called an ambulance, and I got in about 8 or 9 minutes, I was sitting in the hospital. But, more than anything is the fact that I lost my balance, and, but I did have awareness that, hey, I'm sick, you know what I mean? And, it was just the grace of God that, I'm sitting there talking on this phone with you guys today, and looking forward to the conversation, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing, Herbert. Terrence, take us back to the day your stroke happened. I'm feel a little closer to this one because I remember when you called. But what do you remember most, and how did your life change in that moment?
Yeah. So it was a regular day. It was in December of 22. I was just driving home from work, and I happened to be on the phone with one of my closest friends, and my speech changed, and he picked up on it, thank God. And I was driving on the expressway, and thank God I was able to get off the exit, and I called my brother Derrick here on the phone, and my blood pressure was over 260, and it was a scary moment for me. In that moment, I was extremely scared because I've been fairly healthy. I haven't had any issues health wise, never been hospitalized or anything like that at that point. Um, when the smoke cleared, so I had a TIA. I didn't have a full blown stroke. I had a TIA, which for anyone that doesn't know, it's a mini stroke. So I didn't have any droopage or anything like that, but my speech was impacted. And so as far as how that's affected me since then, I just look at life differently. Since that time I've dropped 70 pounds, and, in the midst of all that, our mother died. And so, I just wanted to make a change in my life. So I dropped that weight, and I just look at life a lot differently. Now I'm very, appreciate every day and every moment. And you just kind of realize that you're not going to be, young and healthy out, the rest of your life. You got to start looking towards the future. I've always went to the doctor. I've always advocated for myself health wise. So it turns out, like I said, I had a hole in my heart that the doctor said I had probably since I was born. And I don't want to tell my age, but I'm old enough that where I guess they didn't always check every baby for heart murmurs. And so it's very likely I had the hole in my heart and it gradually grew my whole life. And I just wasn't acting as someone that had a hole in their heart. And so it gradually got big, and then it led to the TIA, which also led to the doctors finding out about the hole. I got the hole closed. My infraction, my heart production is improved since the surgery. I'm on Entresto, which is a medicine, a good medicine to help my heart strengthen. When that happened, I was at 20% heart production. The heart only works at, I think, about 65%. You can fact check me on that, doc. I think it's 65% is what a healthy heart produces. And after the surgery and medicine, I'm at like 45, 50 now. So that's from the grace of God that I'm here on this call.
Absolutely. Wow.
Can I ask, and I know you don't want to say your age, but I think this is important. Each of the fellows to say what age they had their stroke.
Yeah.
I had mine at 53.
53, Curt.
I was 42.
42.
42,
42,
64.
64.
64. Now, there's something interesting about each one of your episodes that I think, if you don't mind, I'll mention that should be discussed. One of the things that happens in our communities a lot is blood pressure. So, Terrence, listen to your story. You know, there's a fine line where sometimes there's what we call hypertensive urgency, when your blood pressure gets so high that it puts so much pressure on your brain, that it cuts off blood flow and can cause strokes in that sense. Or
That's what
sometimes,
happened.
yeah, the vessels rupture. The reason why I bring that up is a lot of times we don't always keep track of our blood pressure. And I think that's something important, that, just regularly, occasionally getting your blood pressure checked before you find out that, one, like Terrence, more than likely your blood pressure is high for a while and it damaged your heart as well. All of those things is stuff that's preventable, because we do know that in our communities, we have a high rate of hypertension. The other thing that I actually tell a lot of my patients, especially males, especially Black males, a lot of us like to go to the gym, but what we do a lot of is lifting. What you need to do more of
Cardio.
is walking, cardio, and you don't have to run, right? I had this very nice conversation with actually a Black male where literally he started crying because I was like, look, just go to the park, turn on an audiobook, and just use this as an education and walk for an hour, right? Like literally just put on an audiobook and make it your thing. So you're learning something and you're just walking. And we find that just that adding that little cardio exercise, an hour, 3 days a week, will improve your blood pressure, increase your overall health, and lower your risk of strokes. Just cardio exercise.
Dr. Smart, I am so glad you shared that, because I myself, and I go to the gym pretty frequently, and I lift cars for a living. And, that's not always what's important. I think us as men, we want that exterior to be strong. We want to be strapping, and we don't think about the cardiovascular benefits of just walking. And I hate the treadmill. I do. I'll be the first one to admit it. But why? Because that's what I've been conditioned and to. But if it can save my life, you better believe I'm going to start walking absolutely much more now. So thank you so much for sharing that. And it's dispelling another myth that we feel like we have to lift in order to be strong. So, and none of you all look weak to me at all. So, and we still can have health experiments. Still, health episodes can happen no matter what. So I do want to ask another question. So before your stroke, and this is to the group, anybody who wants to jump in can add, answer as they see fit. How did you view your health? Were you the type of man who went to the doctor regularly, or were you like many of us who just keep pushing through it, especially as Black men?
I'll take that. I was the guy that kind of pushed through everything as far as my health, and I would recommend highly to this panel and everyone listening to, get a regular checkup, do the blood pressure situation where you're checking your blood pressure, and also taking medication. You know what I mean? I got diagnosed to have high cholesterol along with high blood pressure and a diabetic. at the same time, made me aware of it, right? So, I kind of took the approach, well, I went this far, I'll be all right, right? I didn't feel no symptoms. And like everybody says, it's just a fast situation. I mean, I just going down the road on Saturday and I started feeling different. Couldn't see but the same. My eyes were a little blurry. So those things, kind of, I would recommend highly, stay healthy, check with your doctor, check your blood pressure. And I got a question for you, Dr. Smart. Is there a correlation between blood pressure, cholesterol, and diabetes that causes a stroke?
Well, it's funny. The correlation is the lack of exercise, because exercise, actually cardio exercise, treat all three. In terms of diabetes, exercising can lower your risk of diabetes. Has helped as well control your blood sugar. Exercise can help with your cholesterol, and exercise can help with your blood pressure. Now, unfortunately, what ends up happening is if you develop diabetes, it can lower your renal function, which can cause your blood pressure to be harder to control and get higher. As you have higher blood pressure from diabetes, now the cholesterol buildup can increase your risk of having strokes, because the cholesterol plaques can break off and lead to strokes. So all those things kind of tie together, which is why, like, all of our stroke patients will put you on an aspirin and a cholesterol pill. And make sure, and we'll check your hemoglobin A1C and check to see how your blood sugar has been regulated, because those are the main things. They all kind of feed into each other. So getting those checked and getting on treatment, and I will be 100%. I am all here. And I think getting on treatment, getting those things you have to do. But at the very least, and I come back to this, if you're not going to do it, exercise. Exercise, 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 and get yourself checked. Because if you find out, like your cholesterol is high and you have a high risk of diabetes, that in itself can be a motivator to get you where you need. And you can start medication while you work on improving lifestyle. So it's not an either or. The doctor can work with you to come up with a treatment plan that fits how you want to go through it. But if you don't know, then you have no way of actually knowing what you need to do. Because you may think, and I've seen these patients, that you're doing amazing thing because you're in the gym lifting every day. But you're not addressing your cholesterol, you're not addressing your diabetes, and you're not addressing those things. And I would just tell you this, I've had 30-year-olds who come with strokes, young, fit patients, and when they're pumping, they had high blood pressure, and when they're pumping and they held their breath when they're pumping the weight, it caused them to have hemorrhages. All very simple things that with knowledge is power. Knowledge about your own body's power. And even if you don't want to go to the doctor all the time, go to CVS, check your blood pressure, right? At least go there. That's free.
Absolutely. Yep.
Good advice.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Smart. And as we are continue to go on, we ask that you ask questions, encourage engagement throughout this program. We're encouraging this. This is a conversation for you to jump in. Herbert had a question that he wants to ask Dr. Smart. He asked him. So any questions that you have, please feel free to share. And we're going to try to answer as many as we can as time permits at the end of this discussion. So I'll go ahead and go with the next question, and I'll address this to you, Dr. Smart. I'm just curious. We often hear that Black men are at higher risk for stroke. Why is that, and why should Black men understand? What should Black men understand about those risks?
So when it comes to the higher risk in the Black community, not even just Black males, it comes down to hypertension. It comes down to hypertension, and let's just be frank, right? When you're a Black male in this society, you're under a little bit more pressure. You're under a little bit more stress. The issue is those stresses, can contribute to your blood pressure being higher. Then on top of it, let's just say evolutionary, due to the situations that we as a community has been through, It made us propensities to have higher blood pressure. It makes us have a propensity to be bigger.
Yeah.
And the thing that we have to learn is how to manage those things. That is diet and exercise are the first steps. But as we get older, some of it is genetics. And some of it is genetics that even if you're doing the right things, you still need to be checked to make sure that those things are as possible. For example, my father is smaller than me. He has diabetes and hypertension. He's not big, but he's a computer nerd, always on his computer. He doesn't walk. So like, I tell him like to get up and walk and at least try to help with that. So it's not about, some guys will look at it like, oh, I'm not big, I'm small, I'm in decent shape. But once again, we have a genetic propensity towards these things because of the situations our ancestors endured. And unless you take the steps to actively counter it, you're going to have a higher risk than the general population.
Wow. All right. So I think we got a question. Let's see. If you had 60 seconds to speak directly to every Black man in America about stroke prevention, what would you want them to remember?
It's a good question.
High blood pressure will kill you. Get together, form a walking group. And if you can't run, walk. If you can run, run. You don't have to run fast. If you can't run, walk. Going for nice nature walks, walking through the city, getting your heart rate up, and doing that constantly would be your best way of staying healthy, as well as lowering your risk of strokes.
Absolutely. Thank you
And
for
eating
that.
better.
And eating better. Absolutely. Thank you for that question at Eric Wayne 81. Thank you for that. And just like he asked the question, anyone who wants to ask, please let us know, and we'll get your question asked by Dr. Smart or the panel.
And
So
I'll add, sorry to interrupt. I have
Oh,
one
no,
thing,
you're fine.
I'm so sorry. What happens that we all have to realize, and I say this as somebody who loves my Jamaican food, as we get older, the food that you ate when you're younger is not the food you could keep eating in the same way when you get older. That is one of the things that my patients struggle to understand. You could still have that occasional fried chicken, but maybe instead of 2 pieces, you have 1. And maybe instead of twice a week or 3 times a week, you do it once a month. That's all I wanted to add.
The moderation, absolutely. So I want to address this to the panel. Then we have some more questions coming in, Dr. Smart. I'll address those to you, but I want to address this to the panel real quick. Just curious. Many Black men are taught to be strong, provide, and keep moving no matter what. We talked about that earlier a little bit. How did that mindset help you, and how might it have hurt you when it came to your health?
I think that goes back to Herbert's response. Like as men, we're taught to push through, and just be strong. And we were typically strong for someone else, but a lot of times we neglect ourselves as a result. So I think that to me, that's what that says to me.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. Anyone else? Herbert, Curt, want to take that?
I would also say, given that somebody kind of touched on this before, in terms of nobody knows the better, in terms of nobody knows your body better than yourself, if you feel something amiss, communicate that, whether it be to somebody close to you. In my case, my stroke occurred, my tell was my speech being impacted.
Mm-hmm.
The minute I started slurring my speech as a former broadcaster, my wife knew something was wrong immediately. And I felt like I just walked out of the dentist's office and my tongue felt sluggish. And it was great effort to get the words out. I knew something was wrong. I said to her at the hotel, at the resort, I was like, we need to get help right now.
Right. Back to the question, I can remember, like I told you, I had my stroke on Sunday. that Saturday, I was actually saw both two of my siblings, right? And both of them told me after the stroke, man, I knew something was wrong with you, you know. And it goes back to that, you know, macho guy, not so much macho, but nothing's gonna happen to me, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's a matter of, you know, they knew it. I wouldn't say anything about, you know, I felt bad, but I mean that happened. You know what I mean? That's a true testament.
Yep. It'll humble you. And I think a lot of black men just put stuff off, right? They think it's minor. And so they put it off instead of getting it looked at. But your body's trying to tell you something,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
So again, as I stated, I think before people got on the call and I've shared this with the group, is that I was treated for asthma, right? And so in turn, I had heart failure when that is a distributing factor for heart failure is that you have breathing issues. And so I was going to a doctor. He was treating me for asthma, doing breathing treatments, doing all the pokes in my back to see if I'm allergic to something. And that was way off. Like it wasn't even the case. So unfortunately, the TIA happened, but it sparked me to obviously get all the checks and find out about the hole in my heart. So your body is going to talk to you. It's going to tell you things. So it's just a matter of seeking help to get those questions answered.
We have another question for you, Dr. Smart, in the chat. But before I ask that, I want to just remind people, if you're just joining us, welcome. This is Real Men Talk Stroke, and we are having a great conversation. And this is presented to you by a Stroke of Grace. And if you're enjoying tonight's conversation, share this live stream with someone you care about. One conversation can save a life. It can. Believe me, one conversation can save a life. So if you're watching, please share this live stream. So, Dr. Smart, in the chat, the comments we got, hi, Dr. Smart. How do I lower my cholesterol? I think you've already answered this, but maybe they missed it and they came on later. If you could just
No
say it
problem. I'll
again.
reiterate it because it's very
Okay.
important.
Yeah.
Exercise, of course, there's medication, exercise. You can do moderate exercise, walking, moderate exercise, increasing your heart rate, but it's about getting exercise that slowly increase your heart rate, right? That is the best way to make your heart healthy. That is the best way to lower your cholesterol, you know, and if that fails or while you're doing that, there is nothing wrong with getting medications while you make the adjustment to your lifestyle. And to your point, and each of you guys, what you said about a conversation could save your life. To everybody listening, remember, we say time is brain. Let me explain to you what that means. We have a window. We can extend it for some patients to 6 to 8 hours. The earlier you come to the ER, the greater the possibility and options of what we can do. The earlier you come to the ER, the sooner we can stop what is happening and save your brain, right? So if you feel off, talk to somebody and see what it is. If there's nobody there that you're close to, there is nothing wrong with coming to the ER or having and somebody to take a look at you. Because what you don't want to do, and unfortunately this happens many times with guys, you wait a day or two and now the stroke has completed itself. You wait a day or two, or the hemorrhage has gotten so much that it's killed so much of your brain that there's nothing I can do to help you. So a conversation really can save your life.
Absolutely. Curt, you want to jump in?
In my particular case, that was a situation. Being overseas in Jamaica, I didn't get the care I needed as quickly as I should have, even though I wanted to go to the hospital. It was not an expertise issue in Jamaica. It was an infrastructure issue. There was no MRI, CAT scan stuff available within proximity to my resort. So, you know, I lost valuable time. I did not lose a feeling in my left side, which is my dominant side, for until like the third day in the ICU. So one day I was just literally unable to move, you know, doctor making the rounds, telling you to do all the things like wiggling your toes. And I'm wiggling my toes. And I tell him that, I see him the look in his face. He's like, no, you're not, you know? So to relive that experience is extremely emotional. Having been a football player in college, I got a taste of what it felt like to be paralyzed for a moment, which is every football player's nightmare scenario.
Yeah. So we have
I would say to this, because people will be in those situations where you may not be able to get to the proper health care. While when you're having stroke-like symptoms, there's a small risk of hemorrhage. The majority of strokes may be ischemic. And aspirin in that situation can be very, very helpful in terms of decreasing your clot risk while you try to get to the hopefully get the proper cure. 3 days is a very long time, unfortunately, just to be honest with you. But like an aspirin can be very helpful in those situations as well.
Now, Dr. Smart, does it matter what type of aspirin or just any aspirin?
Any aspirin, 81 to 325 milligrams,
Okay.
can be is very helpful in heart attacks and it's very helpful in strokes.
Yeah.
So having that in your house, maybe especially as you get older, is not a bad thing.
I know we hurt for time, but I'm on an aspirin regimen. Could you explain to the listeners like the significance of the aspirin, like as far as what it actually does?
Perfect. So in the most simplest form, aspirin is a weak blood thinner. So what's happening when you have a stroke is that there's a clot blocking the flow of blood, right? Aspirin will actually start the process of hopefully breaking that down and lessening the effects of that clot. So I would say in those situations, taking a 325 may be a temporizing aspect. And there's times actually in the hospital, we would, sometimes before a procedure, a certain intervention, if we can't do the clot buster, because what we do is what we give you is what we call TNK, which is a stronger acting anticoagulation when you come in. Sometimes though, we'll give you just aspirin boluses and then take you for intervention to try to get the clot out. So aspirin is very important in decreasing the likelihood of a clot forming, blocking the vessels, and in certain points can help at least break up the vessels. It's very helpful also in heart attacks because that's the same thing that's happening.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you for breaking it down, Dr. Smart. Appreciate that. We have a question for the panelists. There was a comment. I'm sorry, Herbert, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you?
No, go ahead. I'm fine. Go ahead. You're fine.
Okay.
You're fine. Okay, go ahead.
We have a question for the survivors that are on. It said, can you please speak to how your mental health, sense of self was impacted by your stroke?
That's a great question. I don't want to talk too much, but I'll start. So it's very humbling. I would just say the whole experience is very humbling because I think Herb, our Curt had mentioned it. So as men, and particularly Black men, we are used to being strong, right? And so there's a certain level of vulnerability that you have to experience when you have a situation like what we've all been through. And so I think, you have the brain fog afterwards, right? I'm sure I'm not the only one to experience that. So I still have some brain fog. Thank God I don't have any drooping or any physical issues other than the brain fog. But it's just very humbling. The whole situation is very humbling, and it impacts your manhood, right? You hate to say that, but it does, because you have to be vulnerable, right? I remember when, like it was yesterday, when I called my brother when that happened. And obviously the look on his face, he was being strong for me and not showing anything, but I was extremely scared, right? And that's a humbling thing to have to say. So I was extremely scared. I didn't know what's happening, and I've never had any major health issues. So it was very humbling. That's my best way to describe it.
Right. I like to add to that. I think and through my experience, I think that your community and family is very important that they understand what you're dealing with, right? And on the other side of that, you need to understand what they're dealing with, because there's a change in family, the family structure, the wife, the kids, your friends, and what you do in the community, everything's changing. So, it's kind of hard to, I would say the word is humble, but it's kind of hard to adjust. I don't know if you guys experienced that, but adjust to, people around you. You may be a little bit more tense, stuff like that. That's what I find myself being. I'm a little more tense. I wish I still could do the things I did. You know what I mean? That type of thing.
That's so true. I wanted to ask a question to the survivors, another one. What is one thing you want every Black man watching tonight to remember after this conversation ends?
I'm going to jump in. I've been holding on to the thought for a while. Watch your lifestyle, you know. As a lifelong swimmer, use that pool and swim some laps. I miss swimming. It's low impact and I can't do it anymore. But also watch everyone likes to take the pictures with the cigars, smoking cigars and all that, and alcohol. I was never a big drinker nor a smoker. Watch your alcohol intake and smoking and all that. Those all contribute towards propensity towards stroke.
Yep. It's definitely made me think about making some changes. Go ahead, Dr. Smart. I saw you was going to say something.
I just want to, you made some very good points. The pool is a great way, especially as you get older, you may not be as fit. Walking in the pool, swimming in the pool, swimming on the beach, amazing way to get cardio, amazing way to get exercise.
Look, as a football player, that was my secret weapon. Not going in there pushing up 600 pounds. I was a fourth quarter guy, you know. When everybody else was tired, I was ready to go. Talk about MJ killing them with daggers in the fourth quarter. I was that guy coming up with a couple of key sacks.
Nice. And then the smoking, exactly on point. So the thing I tell my patients and the alcohol is this, right? Everything has its stages. There may have been a stage in your life where you could smoke, you did your cigar, but that in itself takes a toll on your body. And as you get older, there's a time to cut back, if not set completely aside, right? Because it damages your vessels, it damages your lungs, it increases your risk of everything. And, I'm not going to tell anybody not to drink, but it has to come a point where you realize the risk and benefits at a certain age, how much you're drinking, can have very bad effects on you in terms of everything, right? Because all those things increase your risk of high blood pressure because it's damaging your kidneys, damaging your liver. Unfortunately, that's what happened to my brother who just passed. So you have to watch those things because as you get older, sometimes you got to set certain things you like to do aside to take better care of your health to kind of increase your chance of living healthier.
Right. Well, Dr. Smart, I definitely want to ask you another question, but as we continue rolling with this conversation, I want to encourage everybody to continue to ask questions. We've gotten some good questions tonight. We ask that you continue to be engaged and send as many questions as you can, and we'll start answering them as soon as you send them. All right. One question I want to ask you, Dr. Smart, and I know some people may have just joined us. Thank you and welcome for joining us. This is the Real Men Talk Stroke conversation, and it is presented to you by Stroke of Grace. Dr. Smart, wanted to ask you, what are the stroke warning signs that every person watching tonight should be able to recognize immediately?
Great question. So the very first things is speech. You can start noticing you may be having trouble speaking. The next thing is drooping. You notice that part of your face is drooping. The next things you'll notice is trouble controlling part of your body, right? Trouble with your balance. These are all little telltale signs, even to the point where if you notice that part of your body's gone numb for a while and it's not recovering, that should be concerning. So it's a sense of, I think your brother said it best, and he said it a couple of times, knowing your body.
Yeah.
And if your body feels off, and you can't move your body and control your body as you normally should, go to the hospital.
Cool. Thank you for that.
Well said.
To encapsulate doctor's advice, you can sum it up very easily and memorably, remembering the two words, be fast. B for balance, E for eyesight changes, blurry vision, something like that. F for facial droop, as he alluded to. S for slurred speech. If you notice all that, then put that T in play. time to call the doctor or go to the emergency room. So always remember, be fast.
Thank you for that, Curt. I couldn't remember that, but thank you for that. Thank you so
Yeah, I
much.
didn't remember that. Great. And then added to it, time is brain.
Time.
Time is brain.
Yep. So that T, yep, exactly.
Absolutely. All right. One thing I want to ask you, Dr. Smart, too, as I know some other people have joined us, and thank you for joining us tonight. But this is about a conversation about awareness for our Black community and Black men because it's Black Health Month. But Dr. Smart, if every Black man watching tonight and every person watching, period, was to make 3 changes to improve their health, what would you recommend?
You know, that's another amazing question. So, number 1, check on yourself. Information is power. Even if you don't want to go to the doctor, fine. Go to CVS, check your blood pressure. You know, that's the minimum you can do. Number 2, diet. Now, I tell my patients, you don't have to make drastic changes right away. Sometimes the simplest change is pick one day out of the week, one day, and say, you know what, today I'm going to eat healthy.
Right.
Today's going to be my healthy day. And then try to make it 2 days. But 1 or 2 days, just pick that out of the week and say, I am going to eat healthier today. And eating healthy isn't always about eating salad. Eating healthy could just be, I'm going to have a grilled chicken with a small side of rice and maybe a little vegetable, right? And I'm not going to drink any sodas. I'm going to drink some water, you know. So pick a day or 2 of the week and make those your healthy days, but don't increase how unhealthy you are on the other days. But pick a day or 2 and be healthy. And then the third comes back to exercise. Once again, it doesn't have to be something you do every day. Pick a day, 2 days, at least 3 days. Go for a walk. Like what I tell my father, and I tell all my patients, but my father, I say, hey, take my mom for a walk. Take my stepmom for a walk. Walk around the neighborhood. When the weather is nice outside at night, go for a walk. It is the simplest thing because you know, exercise, cardio exercise. That's the easiest way to start, just walking. So to sum it all up, it would be information on where you are, diet, small changes can be huge, exercise, incremental small cardio adding into your exercise.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Smart. So what I want to ask the panelists, because I know we've talked about this strength and we've talked about being men and we talked about how we always appear, we need to be strong and fearless to a degree. But I have a question. So what does strength mean to you today compared to before your stroke experience?
Being strong, I'm thinking about many things have run through my head because so many of these gentlemen have made great points. But for me now, what it means to be strong is being strong with my wife and for my wife. Because without her, I would not be here. Because I've literally defied the odds. Every year I speak to a group of neurology students at the university that I worked at for a quarter of a century, their medical school, and we do presentations together. And so we even implement those lifestyle changes that Dr. Smart talked about together. It's a partnership for both of us because women themselves, as they age as well, they become higher, more vulnerable to strokes themselves. And I'm not quite sure, I can't cite the numbers off the top of my head, but you know, I gotta do things, take as much of the burden off my wife because I do require a great deal of help having my disabilities. So I gotta really be mindful of taking care of myself so she has less on her plates.
I appreciate that, Curt, because being a caregiver myself and being able to provide care, that is something that is hard, first of all. It's not an easy task. And sometimes our loved ones, I took care of my mom for a long time, can be impatient to a degree. and we don't think about their health. They're not feeling well. We don't think about the things that they can't do anymore versus what they can do. And so it is, sometimes it is different, but I appreciate what I'm saying is I appreciate you knowing that your wife is your caregiver. You know that she provides help to you and you
Look, man,
understand
she's
you're being
amazing.
strong for
She's
her.
my she's
Absolutely.
my guardian angel,
Absolutely.
and I refer to her as my de facto security detail. I'm the best protected man in America right now.
That's amazing.
I'm
That's
I'm
amazing.
I'm Jamaican married to my Puerto Rican wife, so that's an unbeatable combo, man.
That's amazing.
Y'all man Barriqua.
That's amazing. So why do you think, just for the group, why do you think conversations like this are important for Black men?
So I'll jump
I'll
in.
take that.
I'll talk
I
from the
think
stroke
I
side.
think conversations. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go
Uh,
ahead.
Conversations are good. The education that comes from these conversations is the vaccine, a lot of issues in the community, right? And being a Black man, and since I had a stroke, I've been involved with a lot of community work, getting involved with people. So it's a lot of times you take for granted that people know what we're talking about, but they don't know. There's guys running around having strokes and don't even know they had a stroke. You know what I mean? So information is so important that the stuff you mentioned, Dr. Smart, about the symptoms. A lot of people may just think, oh man, I twist my ankle, that's why I'm feeling bad. So at the end of the day, I think the more you see platforms like this, the better off every community is going to be when it comes to stroke information and wellness.
It is also because as Black men, we have experiential learning that is different from other men. And I'm a big believer in each one teach one. And the conversations that we have, as we say up in New York especially, we keep it real, We can let our hair down if whatever we have left of it. We let our hair down and we just talk to each other and keep it real, man.
That's it.
Our concern for each other is genuine.
Yeah.
Where others, as we've alluded to in the medical professional, we may not feel that level of trust, but we can learn from each other and head off cataclysmic events before they happen to someone else.
Yes, sir. And real conversations can really save lives too. And
Exactly.
just being real. Dr. Smart, you was going to say something, but I want to ask you a question and let you finish your
Yeah.
comment. And I want to also ask you another question as we get ready to wrap up a little bit. So what gives you hope when it comes to reducing strokes in our communities?
Okay, so it will be twofold. So conversations like this, from my experience, one of the blessings I have, I've been able to be a Black male going into those rooms when patients have a TIA to have another Black man, and it makes a difference for me to have a heart to heart with them. And I could tell, like, I think I mentioned in the when we first got on about this one guy about why exercise was so important. And I remember the guy started crying because he looked at me and was like, you know what? If walking worked for you, it can work for me. Because that's what I do. I don't run as much, I walk. And there's that having this conversation, to your point, that relatability. They can see themselves, they can understand it. The other aspect of it, to be quite frank, is these conversations help people understand that, yeah, Black males are strong, but we also have this, we're vulnerable as well. Like, I'll mention to this, a third of patients who have strokes end up with depression. And if people don't know that, as you said, information is power. If a man doesn't know that, if somebody doesn't understand that, them being depressed or them being depressed over their health is not something that is something that is common, they would automatically think it's something wrong with them. But my hope is,
Right.
from conversations like this, people realize that it's not that something is wrong with you. This is how our bodies age. And what you can do is understand how it ages and then take preemptive action to limit some of those possibilities and try to age as healthy as possible.
Yeah, that is wonderful. So it's spot on. Thank you so much, Dr. Smart, for that response. We have a question in the chat, and I haven't had a stroke, but I have been sick. And we're serious about our faith, and you can't tell anybody that God's a healer if you ain't never been sick. So the question is, how can our faith and prayer work together with medical care to help prevent strokes and support recovery? How can our faith and prayer work together?
I'll go off with
Yeah.
it then.
Go ahead.
So here's what I would tell people. My grandmother was a pastor. And what she would say, God works in mysterious ways. So what I would tell people is God has put options in front of you. Use those options. Doctors, as I said, even if you don't want to go to doctor, CVS, right? What God does is he gives us choices.
Yeah.
God helps those who help themselves.
So use it, have faith.
Yeah.
But have faith in trusting that God has put what you need in front of you, so use it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not doing nothing is not an option. Do something.
Yep. I know a lot of people feel like, God and science is not together, but I've always been told, and I think my mom used to say this, prayer with no plan is not good, right? So you can have prayer, but you have to enforce that prayer with your own action,
Absolutely.
right? So that's how it stuck with me my whole life. So two things can coexist, right? So you can utilize your prayer and also still seek medical attention. So I know some people use religion to say, "Oh, well, I'm not going to go to the doctor because God will heal me." Right? That's not smart.
Not smart at all.
Not smart at all. Okay.
Right.
So
I've had those very candid and sometimes highly combative conversations about stuff like that. I will invoke the words of the great Herm Edwards: a goal without a plan is just a wish.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
And I would add this as well, not even just about God, because as Jamaican, I'm all for natural treatments. The teas, the juices, those are great. And as you do those things, though, it still doesn't. It's still helpful to get the numbers in check to make sure they're working.
Exactly.
Right? Like, because I've heard that, well, God has given us the natural treatment and those, and I'm not saying anything is wrong with that. Use it, but while you're doing that, it doesn't hurt to find a way to make sure that what you're doing is actually working how you intend it to work.
for sure.
Yeah, we have.
I like to.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go
I have
ahead.
a comment. When I was in rehab for about 3 or 4 weeks, everybody kept talking about this young lady named Christine Cosby. And that's, like I told you guys, that was 5 years ago that I had the stroke, right? And I finally met her. And bottom line is, it was a God sent when I didn't know her, and then when I met her, it was even more of a aspiration, saying, "Man, God is good," because everybody in that room told me, "You got to meet Miss Christine Cosby. She had a stroke. You won't believe her recovery and that type of stuff." And then so about 2 or 3 months ago, I met Christine, and it's all about faith, faith in God, because I was told months ago, "Man, I know her. Just so happened me and her in the same room, and we had a conversation. It was all about the man upstairs." So bottom line is, he was in control that day when I was in the rehab. The angels was coming down, talking to me through nurses about this young lady that's got this advocacy going right now about stroke. So kudos to you, Christine. I really appreciate everything. And I'm sure the rest of the panel feels the same.
Absolutely. And just to know Christine and see her remarkable recovery. And that's what it was. It was nothing but her
Yeah.
faith in her and God that healed her. And then her doing what she was instructed by her doctors and making those changes that was necessary to get her to that point. You cannot tell me that God is not real after hearing and seeing her story. Uh,
Yes,
there,
sir.
there's a
I agree.
comment in the chat just I wanted to share. It's not a question, but she just Eliza Marie says conversation can remove the stigma of shame. Health is important. There is no time to lock ourselves in a closet at
That's
all. There's
beautiful.
no time to lock ourselves in the closet at all. So as we get ready to close up, because we want to definitely be respectful of everybody's time, and we thank you, brothers, so much for joining us tonight and being a part of this, and making this conversation so valid and so real and so relatable. But I will ask you to finish this sentence for me, if you would, and I'll go around to everybody. Um, Real men, and you can finish it. By example, real men ask for help. Real men go to the doctor. So I will ask all of you, real men, and then you finish it. So I'll start with you, Curt.
Real men recognize that they can take care of their mental health without appearing to be weak or broken.
Terrence,
I would say real men advocate for themselves, with their doctors, etc.
Herbert,
Let me think about it a little bit. Come back to me.
okay. Dr. Smart,
Real men try to make informed decisions.
Herbert, you out of time. What's up?
Real men care.
There you go. I like it. Okay, so tonight we heard stories of survival. We've heard stories of hope. We've heard stories of perseverance. Most importantly, we've shown that real strength includes taking care of ourselves and having conversations that matter. On behalf of A Stroke of Grace, our panelists, Dr. Smart, and everyone who made tonight possible, thank you for spending your evening with us. Remember, know the signs, know your numbers, take care of yourself, and visit www.strokeofgrace.org. Subscribe to the Recovery Room and continue this conversation. Be with your family and friends because real men talk stroke. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have an amazing night. Take care of yourself, and hopefully you heard
Never
something
give up.
tonight. Never give up. That's it. And if tonight's conversation encouraged you, or challenged you, or taught you something new, don't let this be the end of your journey. Thank you so much for joining us. Have an amazing day.
Thanks, everybody.